Yes, joining us today for our first amazing talk is IryN. This is a gamer, rhythm game gamer, and musician who will be discussing how mentality and other people's expectations can very easily lead to being hardstuck, which definitely is not desirable. But um, yes, IryN, I will leave you to your talk, and thank you everyone for being here.
All right. Hello. Just to give a quick outline on my talk, it'll first be just my story on being hard stuck, and then we're gonna analyze that story. We're gonna break it down and see why exactly I got hard stuck. And then if we still have time, I could probably take some questions and give tips, and then we can conclude it after that. Also, another thing is that this talk is going to be very opinionated because it's going to be circulating on one singular opinion and one singular experience, which is my own. So anyway, let's start with first my story on being hard stuck. I started playing Osu when I was in like March 2021, and a few weeks after I started, I realized that I was really good at farming and specifically like no mod aim farming. So of course I farmed the heck out of that. Because of that, I hit 5 digit in like 200 hours, and I started being more active in the forums. And I don't know if you guys know this, but in gameplay and ranking forums, there's this one thread where like you have to how do I say this? You have to rate the profile of the person below you in the thread. And whenever I would go on there, I would always people would always say like, "Oh, you're so talented. You're improving so fast." You know what? I bet you like in 2 3 years time you're gonna be a top player. And then so I kept ranking up and ranking up. The more I ranked up, the more I slowed down. Eventually, I hit 4 digit in like 340 hours, and I got my first 500 pre-rework uh in like 360 hours. But after I got that, I instantly like just stopped. I couldn't rank up anymore. I stagnated for like a week, and then rework hit, and I lost like 500 PP, 1000 ranks, and then I just stagnated again for like 2 more months. After that 2 months though, I was able to get back on my feet. I started farming again. It's been pretty okay, I guess. Now I'm like rank 5.78. I can't remember. But so yeah, that's pretty much my story on being hard stuck. Now let's analyze that story. Why exactly did I get hard stuck? So let's first start with the compliments. So if you noticed, the nature of the compliments I would get would always be like, "You're so talented, you're so good, and you're gonna be successful in like a couple years time." Now it's good to get compliments, you know. It really helps your mentality, but it also builds this one, I guess, way of thinking, like sort of mentality that I like to call the gifted mindset. Now, what exactly is the gifted mindset? The gifted mindset is pretty much this way of thinking where, uh, actually, let me think about how to say this. It's like you think that you don't need to work as hard to achieve more than others, which is, in and of itself really flawed. It's like telling two different people to build, uh, like okay, let's say you give a gifted person 100 planks of wood, and you give a non-gifted person 100 planks of wood, and the non-gifted person builds a shack out of that 100 planks of wood, and of course he can build it, like it's a shack. But the gifted person wants to build a mansion, and obviously you can't build a mansion out of 100 planks of wood. It's kind of like that, but when you look at it in the beginning, it kind of makes sense, right? Because you're not putting in as much work as others. I wasn't putting in as much work as others, but I was still gaining more rank than them. And because of that, I sort of developed this gifted mindset where I have this thinking in my head that I don't need to work as hard as others in order to achieve more. And of course, that caused me to slow down more and more. If you look at like gifted people in real life, or gifted kids, that's what I should say. Gifted kids, you can notice that like in elementary school, they're really, really good. But the more they rank, the more they quote unquote rank up, as in like move up in level or in grade, whatever you might call it, it's they start slowing down. They start becoming more and more average. And some gifted kids even just drop out because they can't handle continuously straining themselves with getting good grades. There's a very specific reason for it, and that's because they don't build good study habits. If you're a gifted kid, and you have this gifted mindset that where you don't really need to work as hard as others in order to achieve the same thing, you're definitely not going to study because you're achieving more than others already, right? Yeah, healthy gamer GG talked about that. A lot of the stuff I'm talking about comes from his channel actually. So again, because they haven't built good study habits, they're not going to do well in high school or even college. Same thing with a Nosu player. To improve, you need to work on your weaknesses, or quote unquote, in this case, like study habits. And if you don't work on it, eventually you will slow down, especially in my experience. Because I said I was a Nomad aim player, eventually when you go up in rank and you're only playing Nomad, you eventually need to learn streams. And I never learned streams because I was only good at Nomad aim. Now, I did say I was only slowing down. I never stopped. I only stopped when I got my first 500, which was actually with hidden DT. Now, I was never good at hidden DT. Like the max BPM I could go was probably like 260 BPM, something around that range. So when I got my first 500, it moves me to my second point, which is expectations. I'm pretty sure there was already a talk on that, but basically, since I got my first 500, I was expecting more out of myself. I was expecting like, oh, I got my first 500. I should be getting like 400s easily now, right? Surely. So because I was expecting that and I wasn't getting 400s, it just kind of put me into this sort of bad mentality loop where like I'm not performing as well, which means I suck. And because I suck, it kind of just ruins my mindset because I have expectations where I won't suck. I won't suck. And because I had that mentality and that I guess those expectations for myself, eventually I did just stop ranking up. Now, I did eventually get back to ranking up after like a couple months. Now, how exactly did I do that, right? There's a couple ways that I went about it. Since we've already broken down what I've actually been talking about and my whole experience with it, I guess we can move on to tips on how exactly did I get out of being hard stuck. Well, I got out of being hard stuck by doing two things. I reduced my expectations and I quote unquote push through. That one's a bit more vague, but so let's start with reducing expectations. That one's very simple, right? Just reduce your expectations, or even just get rid of your expectations. Just if imagine like you go into a restaurant and you before you even get there, you're already thinking like, oh man, the food here is just gonna taste like garbage. I'm not even gonna eat anything because it's gonna taste like garbage. If you keep repeating that in your head, and when you get to the restaurant and the food actually tastes good, like that's a massive W, right? Because you expected it to taste like garbage. And even if the food does taste like garbage, it's still gonna be okay because you already expected it. You're just gonna be like, oh man, it's fine. I already expected it to taste like garbage anyway. Same thing with OC. If you expect yourself to not or to underperform, then if you do underperform, it's okay. But if you don't underperform, if you do well, you gain PP, you feel like you're improving, like it's a massive W. And you really feel it. Like you'll be like, oh damn, I FC'd that? That was crazy. That play was so good. I'm gonna screenshot that and I'm gonna post the replay on YouTube or something like that. And you're gonna be very proud of it. Unlike if you have expectations, the play's just gonna be more like, well, I already expected myself to do that anyway, so it doesn't matter. Now, a big problem with this mindset is that there's a very fine line between having low expectations and just self-loathing. Have if you're lowering your expectations, you need to be thinking positive because it becomes self-loathing if you aren't or if you aren't positive, right? When you're lowering your expectations, you need to be going like, how do I say this? You need to be going like, damn, I don't think I'm gonna be able to FC this map. It's doable, but like, I don't expect myself to FC it. it becomes self-loathing when you're like, man, I'm never gonna FC this map. This map is too hard for me, or something like that. Like you get the point. You just need to be positive when you're doing or when you're talking about expectations, when you're lowering them. So I guess that moves me to my second tip, which is to push through. This one won't apply to everyone. But so what do I mean by pushing through? Pushing through is basically just playing your weaknesses, which is exactly what I did. Because like I said, I farmed like no mod aim so much to the point where it was the only thing I could play. So I hit 4 digit and I couldn't stream like 160 BPM. I couldn't stream any BPM actually. Now I can, but back then it was rough. So what I did, I just played my weaknesses. By playing my weaknesses, I was playing something else other than no mod aim, which of course expounded my skill set and helped me again work on my weaknesses. Sorry if I can't really find any other good words for that. But it also helped me with one thing, which is expectations. I already know that I suck at tech, so I won't expect myself to do well on tech. And because I'm only playing tech and streams and all my weaknesses, I won't expect myself to do well in farming either because I haven't farmed like at all. So when I did get back to farming, I didn't expect anything. And my mind was clear, my mindset was uh just really good for farming because I didn't expect anything. Like I said, I'm being very repetitive here, so maybe we should move on from that. So I guess since I actually went faster than I thought, we should probably do a recap. Basically, in my situation, I ranked up really fast and I got a lot of compliments. And because of that, I built this sort of mindset that I like to call the gifted mindset. Again, the gifted mindset is this sort of idea or way of thinking where you think that you don't need to work as hard as others in order to achieve the same thing, or to even, in some cases, achieve more, which is not true. In the way I see it, being gifted is sort of like a skill cap extender, right? Being gifted is sort of this, yeah, like skill cap extender. That's pretty much it. You still need to work as much as others, but you can definitely achieve more. That's what being gifted is, in my opinion. Um, I guess that's pretty much it. I still have a lot of time left, so if you guys have any questions, because I know that this was very opinionated and mostly based on my experience. So if you have your own experience with being hard stuck, feel free to ask any questions if you want to. Oh, I should probably say, um, when I say being hard stuck, I got hard stuck pretty early in, because of the gifted mindset, mostly because I was only playing Nomad. It might vary on some other uh mod combinations, just mods in general. Like for example, DT. DT is way more flexible for farming and ranking up. So generally it's just better to choose DT for farming. But since I was playing Nomad, I got hard stuck really early because well, you need to learn a lot of stuff for Nomad. You can't really rank up with Nomad when you're just doing aim. Unlike with DT. With DT, you can probably reach like top 1000 and then experience the same slowdown and eventually being hard stuck. But I can't really speak on that because I'm not a DT player. I haven't really been counting the time, but I guess that's pretty much it. Thank you guys for coming to my talk. I hope you guys learned something at